It was supposed to be a normal night. On February 24, 1978, 5 friends from Yuba City, California, Bill Sterling, Jack Madruga, Jackie Hewitt, Ted Wire, and Gary Mathias, piled into a Mercury Montego to drive 50 miles north to Chico State University. Their goal? Watch a college basketball game, grab some snacks, and return home. They were part of a team in a local Special Olympics tournament, scheduled to play their own game the following day. Each of them was excited. Uniforms were laid out, rides arranged. For these men, the game wasn't just entertainment, it was purpose, routine, belonging, but they never came back. The next morning, panic set in. None of them had returned home. Their families immediately contacted the police. This wasn't just out of character, it was unimaginable. These men were deeply attached to their daily routines. One of them, Gary Mathias, was a diagnosed schizophrenic but stable under medication. The others lived with various developmental or learning disabilities. Despite that, they were functional, close-knit, and careful. Something was terribly wrong. On February 28th, 4 days after the disappearance, a forest ranger found Jack Madruga's car, a white 1969 Mercury Montego, abandoned on a remote, snow-covered logging road in Plumas National Forest. The area was over 70 miles from Chico and even farther from their homes. It was the complete opposite direction from where they were supposed to be going. The car wasn't stuck. The tires were intact. It still had gas in the tank. The keys were gone, but the doors were unlocked. It looked as if the group had simply stopped and walked off into the forest, in freezing conditions, without warm clothes or supplies. Jack was known to be extremely protective of his car. He never would have driven it up a road like that, bumpy, remote, narrow. That alone raised red flags, and yet, here it was, parked neatly, as if someone intended to return. Around the car, searchers found no trace of the 5 men. No footprints, no signs of struggle, no direction to follow. But a snowstorm had hit the area shortly after the car was likely abandoned, possibly covering any tracks. The terrain was brutal. Freezing temperatures at night, deep snow, wild animals. Rescue teams scoured the woods with snowmobiles, helicopters, and tracking dogs, but found nothing. The families were devastated. Flyers were posted across towns. The national media picked up the story. Weeks passed, then months. Still no trace of the Yuba County 5. In June 1978, with the snow finally melting in the Sierra Nevada, a group of motorcyclists ventured into the mountains near a deserted U.S. Forest Service trailer, roughly 20 miles from where the car had been abandoned. What they found was horrifying. Inside the trailer, lying on a bed covered with 8 neatly tucked sheets, was the body of Ted Wire. He had clearly survived for a while, perhaps as long as 13 weeks. His beard had grown out, his feet were badly frostbitten, and his body had lost nearly half its weight. The trailer had food, canned rations, dehydrated meals, a propane tank. But none of it had been touched. There was no attempt to start a fire, despite there being ample materials. No sign that anyone had tried to open the shuttered windows for light. There was a working propane tank that could have provided heating, untouched. Beside him lay his shoes. On a table, his wallet, a gold ring, and a watch that didn't belong to any of the men. It was as if he had simply laid down and waited to die. Nearby, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling, their bodies scattered along the same road that led to the trailer, several miles from the vehicle. It appeared they had died of exposure, succumbing to the elements as they tried to make their way through the snow-covered wilderness. Days later, Jackie Hewitt's backbone was found 2 miles from the trailer, along with part of his clothing and shoes. Eventually, his skull was discovered a bit farther up the hill. Gary Mathias, the one member of the group with a known psychiatric condition, was never found. Only his shoes were discovered inside the trailer, suggesting he might have exchanged them with Ted Wire at some point. Beyond that, Gary vanished completely. No bones, no tracks, no answers. What truly happened to the Yuba County Five? Why would 5 men, all of whom had families, homes, and responsibilities, drive deep into the mountains for no apparent reason? Why abandon a working vehicle? Why walk 20 miles into snow-covered wilderness without proper clothing or gear? The trailer had food, a heat source, materials to survive, but none of it was used. Why? Why did Ted Wire seem to have waited in that trailer for weeks, but not eat, not warm himself, not escape? And what happened to Gary Mathias? Even more strangely, a separate cabin about a mile from the trailer had been broken into. Sea rations were missing. Someone had been there. Was Gary trying to find help? Was he the one who broke in? If so, where did he go afterward? As investigators and families tried to make sense of what had happened, a wave of theories emerged. Some grounded, others deeply unsettling. One of the most common ideas was that the group took a wrong turn on the way home and became disoriented. But that doesn't explain how they ended up so far from any logical route. The road where the car was found wasn't a shortcut. It wasn't even on the way home. It was far into unfamiliar, dangerous terrain. Another theory suggests they followed someone, perhaps someone they trusted, deeper into the mountains. But who and why? There were no reports of foul play, no injuries indicating a struggle. Some have pointed to Gary Mathias. He had a history of psychiatric issues, including schizophrenia, and had gone AWOL during military service. But by 1978, he was considered stable on medication. His family insisted he would never harm his friends. Still, if his medication wore off in the freezing cold, could he have suffered a psychotic break? Others believe the group may have witnessed something they shouldn't have, something that forced them to flee or hide. There were rumors of illegal drug operations in the woods. Others speculated about a possible violent encounter that left them panicked and lost. Then there are stranger theories: UFO sightings, government experiments, paranoia-fueled rabbit holes. The facts are so sparse and so strange that nearly any story seems plausible. But none of them fully explain what happened. One of the few clues came from a man named Joseph Shawns. On the night the boys disappeared, Shawns was driving up the same remote road where the Mercury Montego was later found. His car got stuck in the snow. While trying to free it, he suffered a mild heart attack. As he sat in pain inside his vehicle, he claimed he saw headlights coming from behind him. A car with multiple people inside. Later, he said he saw flashlights. Voices. He tried to call for help, but they didn't respond. Eventually, they disappeared into the night. Could it have been the Yuba County Five? And if so, why didn't they help him? Or even acknowledge his cries? Schoen's story has never been confirmed, but if it's true, it suggests the group was still alive and mobile well into the night, possibly being led or followed by someone. The biggest unanswered question is Gary Mathias. His shoes were found in the trailer, suggesting he was there, maybe even after Ted Wire died. But no body was ever recovered. Could Gary have survived and escaped? Or did something happen to him deeper in the forest? His military training and physical fitness meant he was the most capable of surviving in such conditions. If he fled, why hasn't any trace of him surfaced? Not in the forest, not in any nearby town, not even decades later. Some believe he made it out and started a new life. Others think he died, and his body was simply never found. the wilderness can swallow you whole. But there's also a darker possibility that Gary's role in this mystery was not passive, that he played a part in whatever went wrong. No evidence supports this, but with so little known, every possibility remains on the table. The Yuba County 5 case leaves behind more questions than answers. How did 5 men end up so far from their intended route? Why abandon a working car in the snow? Why trek deep into freezing mountains without coats, gloves, or direction? And why, once shelter and supplies were found, did no one make use of them? Was it panic? Mental illness? Something more sinister? Decades later, families still grieve without closure. The remaining clues, a car in the woods, a body in a trailer, shoes without an owner, tell only fragments of the story. Investigators closed the case long ago. But for those who still follow it, the mystery of the Yuba County 5 stands as one of the most chilling and perplexing disappearances in modern American history. And somewhere, out there, the final piece of the puzzle may still lie buried, in the snow, in the forest, or in the silence of someone who knows more than they ever said. If you found this story as haunting as we did, leave a comment below. Have your own theory? We'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling mysteries from the shadows of real life.